The platform, afford a culture review and analysis. Obviously. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen this movie that is currently streaming on Netflix, then what are you waiting for? Hello, and welcome back to The Conversation Piece with your host, Akila. My breakdown of the Netflix series, The Platform, which is a beautiful, cinematic, dystopian sci-fi film centered around the notion of a seemingly forced social uniformity or lack thereof, and how we would treat each other when our base instinct of survival overcomes and dominates humanity. Now, this is almost a commentary scene by scene. The movie opens with classical music, swirling and swooping over the atmosphere. I expect class, refinement, elegance, and then the camera spotlights an executive head chef inspecting meat, vegetables, and staff. He's checking for flaws. The kitchen is lively and bustling with efficiency. Everyone knows their assignment, so I expect the server to bust through the doors at any moment and serve some overpriced dish to some stuffy patron in a 3-star restaurant. Every detail is paid attention to. Then, a narrator's voice chimes in as the scene goes black and states, there are 3 types of people: the ones above, the ones below, and the ones who fall. The next scene opens with an eyeball taking in the environment. The number 48 is shown, and I have no context for what this number means, but the movie gets right to the point. So, this is the pit, and the month is about to begin. What I'm wondering is what our food will be. If you listen to the voice closely, it's the same voice that was the narrator earlier, stating that there are 3 types of people. I now see our assumed protagonist, a thin, bearded, skinny, unassuming character whose name has not been revealed yet, looking across at a chubby, sketchy, stout man. The spatial dynamic of the room is interesting. The walls are concrete, bare, square, with a large rectangular hole in the middle of the room. The obvious is stated by the sketchy fella to his new roommate, the assumed protagonist. This information is for all of our benefit, and it should be obvious that this is the pit. The word pit to me conveys the bottom. So as a viewer, I'm under the impression that level 48 is the bottom. That is until the assumed protagonist gets up from his bed and looks down, exposing him to an endless abyss. Now, if you're watching and the first thought in your head is, that's a long way down, you will be correct. So, objectively, on a certain level, see what I did there? It would seem that level 48 is a sweet spot compared to the floors below him. But at this point, the purpose of the opening is not clear. If anything, it serves as a precaution not to get too close in fear of falling down. But the movie does not waste my time. It answers the question right away. What is this hole for? It's obvious. It's for us to eat. Eat what? Whatever the ones above do not. The assumed protagonist's name is given, Gordon. Quick aside, names have meaning, and in some cultures, the name carries weight. So I did a quick Google search of the name Goring, and its surname origin is Saxony, and the name gained a reputation for contributions in the emerging medieval society. So, Gordon extends his hand to his cellmate, but is met with a frosty response, telling Goring to go to his side of the room. Goring poses an interesting question. What name have you been assigned? Been assigned. So perhaps Goring is not his real name. The response he is given is, well, let me decide if I want to share with you my name or not. We don't know how long we'll be stuck with each other. Chilling, frosty, ominous, like a warning. So, judging from the uniforms, the room, the conclusion is that this is some type of confinement, which puts into context Goring's question, what name have you been assigned? In correctional facilities, inmates are assigned by identification number and a bunk number. They're told when to eat, when to sleep, when they are let out for recreation at assigned times. My name is Trimagasi. Side note, I tried to look up the origin and perhaps meaning of this name, but my search kept me spiraling. So, moving on. The names Goring, Trimagasi are these assigned names. It's left to the imagination, but one thing is certain to Goring is that he needs answers. Perspective. Because at this point, nothing to him is obvious, except that Trimagasi seems to be a complex individual. Goring needs answers, some direction before he acts. He looks above and inquires, and is informed by Trimagasi that they will not answer because they are above. He looks below and inquires, and Trimagasi informs him that they especially will not answer because they are below. The spatial dynamics of above and below take shape. This is a mirror of society, obviously. A large block descends from the center of the room, and a large spread of food is revealed, but with a disclaimer. It's obviously been picked over. A fact that disgusts Goring, but Trimagasi is dismissive of this as he voraciously devours whatever scraps are before him. What's the rush? Gordon spots an apple, one of the few recognizable food items on the table. He puts the apple in his pocket. The table begins to descend to the level below them, and Trimagasi spits on the table. Why? Because F those below. That's why. Is that not obvious? The temperature in the room begins to drop, and Trimagasi asks if he held on to any food. Yes, an apple. But what's the big deal? It's an apple. Trimagasi lays out the rules. Once the table is on their level, they need to eat while it's there. No food can be retained, or else there are consequences, such as the temperature changing. They either freeze you or boil you to death. Gordon takes the apple out of his pocket and throws it down on a table below. The temperature returns to normal. They are obviously being monitored. They have no control. Do you understand? Do you understand? A female voice asks. This scene is a flashback. Gordon is in a basement being evaluated. The terms of completion are laid out. He is asked what object he wants to bring in. He is given only one choice. Gordon chooses a book. The book, The Ingenious Gentleman, Don Quixote. It is revealed that Gordon is a volunteer in the pit for 6 months, and in exchange for his time in the pit, he will receive an accredited degree. This concerns Trimagasi, as he's been in the pit for almost a year. There are moments when the room turns red, and we see a platform of food zoom upwards at a fast pace. The next scenes are a montage of the dispositions and perspectives of Trimagasi and Gordon. Trimagasi, we see gorging from the platform, as Gordon is serving as a conscientious objector. Different perspectives. Check out this exchange initiated by Trimagasi. Are you not eating? Obviously, Gordon responds. You don't deserve this level, snarks Trimagasi. All in perspective. Gordon wants to know why Trimagasi is in a pit. He'll tell him if Gordon stops using his word, obviously. It's the little things, the details. Trimagasi informs Gordon that he was watching television and an ad for a special knife was playing. It intrigued him so that he bought the knife. Shortly thereafter, another ad was playing for another special knife. This one even sharper than the one he purchased. This offended him, so he threw his TV out of the window, and it fell on an illegal immigrant. Trimagasi's object that he brought into the pit was a Samurai Plus knife. Again, Gordon brought a book. Trimagasi poses a question. Am I responsible? Now, to the viewer, the answer is obvious. Yes, he is. He killed someone. But Trimagasi has a perspective that immigrant should not have been there in the first place. He was presented with a choice, the pit or a mental institution. What choice would you have made? Isn't it obvious? It is established now that Gordon is different. His object is a book, but his anxiety is rising, partly due to Trimagasi's disposition. Gordon asks, what's the lowest level that Trimagasi's been to? 132. And there's no food at that level. Gordon strategizes and appeals to the ones above to ration the food so they all can eat. Trimagasi has been in the pit a year and knows that trying to appeal to the better angels of the inhabitants is a futile attempt. Are you a communist? He asks. Gordon responds, I'm reasonable. Keep that in mind. At the moment, someone falls from above. Hey yo, I know you heard of Spotify, right? It's free to download, and your girl's on there. That's right. So download, search the Conversation Piece Podcast with Aquila, and hit follow. It's that simple. As the food descends for the level, there is a woman sitting on a platform, looking disoriented and distant. This raises the concern of Gordon. Trimagasi states, she comes down every month looking for her son. This line got my attention. She comes down every month. So does she have some sort of privilege? She comes down from where? This question is not answered right away. The fact that she's looking for a son is of my concern. Children. There are children here subjected to this system. Gordon is informed that in the pit, everyone is free to behave how they want. Put a pin in that. Let's zoom out for a moment and examine that statement. There's a reason why rules and structures are in place. If we leave people to behave how they want, it will be anarchy. There are some fashions in societies that need to be kept in check. And at our core, we're driven by different motivations and desires. And some of us are more impressionable than others. If someone with a wicked mindset can manipulate you, they own you. They control you. The irony of which, that is exactly what's going on in the pit. But Gordon is a volunteer, and Trimagasi committed a crime, but chose to go into this system. So what about the rest of them? But it seems that all in the pit chose to enter. And when you surrender your freedom, you're at the whims of those in control. Trimagasi lets us and Gordon know that this woman is being driven, searching for her missing son. So she kills her cellmate in order to spend time with him. Was she responsible for the body that fell from above? This is not the thought I find disturbing. It's the thought that this woman, whose name is Miharu, she seems vulnerable. And in a system that leaves unruly behavior unchecked, and the now assumed fact that there's a child in a pit, how do we think that child came about? Miharu's disposition, when we first see her, is of ambiguity. She looked ragged, bruised. She's obviously been attacked, and more than once. But there's this edge to her. Her eyes tell more than she's revealing. My fears materialize as the platform descends to the floor below, and the men violently take her from the table. We hear a scuffle. Camera keeps the eye trained on Gordon. We all know what is taking place down below, and he can't do anything to help her. Shimagasi is unaffected by this. They'll only have her for a couple of days, he says, as if it makes it any better. A couple of days do not transpire, as she has killed her attackers and gets back on the platform. The look in her eyes is of determination, not conformity to her surroundings, even though she chooses to go down every month, knowing what can happen to her. How much fight does she have left? She will do what she needs to do to survive, a notion Gordon needs to take to heart. Time passes, and Gordon adjusts to his new normal, and the month is almost up. Do you believe in God? Shimagasi asked. Why this question is posed because nothing up to this point would even indicate any sort of righteousness that this man has. He just has a need to survive. Shimagasi lets us in a bit to his psyche. He has 2 months left on his sentence. This month, he believes in God. This month, he is on level 48. So his belief is contingent when it serves himself, not God. The month is almost up, so the question becomes, how are they moved? The room turns red, and the question is, do you smell gas? So the conclusion is they're gassed to lose consciousness and move to a different level, obviously. But how? That question is not answered right away. The next scene is chilling, as Shimagasi is shown with his sharp knife and has Goran tied up to his bed. I assume they're on an unfavorable level, and they are, level 171. And the only context is that the lowest level that Shimagasi has been to is 132. And at that level, there's no food left. So him being on 171 has driven him to tie up his cellmate. He is about survival. Survival is key in the pit, and this is clear. Hunger will drive you mad. It is better to eat than be eaten. People are screaming as they discover what new levels are on. And at this moment, from above, another body falls. Shimagasi is trying to console Gordon in his spirit and rationalize why he is tied up and why he needs to eat him. He even offers a mercy on when he will cut him. He tells Gordon his little snail, and his little snail needs to be purged. But as a mercy, he will give him 8 days. Eight days pass, and Shimagasi cuts Gordon in the thigh. As he's pleading and bleeding out, the platform descends on level 171, and Miharu is on it. A courtesy earns a courtesy. Gordon helped her back on level 48, and she in turn knocks Shimagasi off Gordon, sending his knife across the room. She grabs it and stabs Shimagasi. She turns and cuts Gordon free, and he in turn repeatedly stabs Shimagasi, killing him. This scene irritated me. The executive head chef is throwing a fit over a hair and a dessert. He berates the staff and has one person from each ethnicity surround him so he can compare the hair type. This makes me wonder if he knows what is occurring in the pit. The behavior that is occurring below them, and he is pissed off about a tiny hair. There are people in the pit on the brink of starvation. Hair will just add some extra nutrients at this point. But if I'm being honest, I believe he and the staff are aware. They just don't care. However, they want to give a good presentation. Remember, perspectives. Maggots are now feasting on Shimagasi's body, and Gordon has no choice but to eat for survival. The ghost of Shimagasi is now taunting Gordon. Eat or be eaten. Gordon felt he was driven to kill him, but Shimagasi raises an honest observation. He was merciful to Gordon, whereas Gordon killed him in an instant. Never mind that Trimagasi was going to kill him anyway, just slowly. Slow or fast, death was going to be evident. A matter of perspective. Gordon awakens to pushing a dog away from licking his face, much to the irritation of his new cellmate. The dog's name is Ramses II. Quick aside. I found the name of the dog fascinating. Ramses is of ancient Egyptian origin, meaning born of Ra. Ra was a sun god that was worshipped by the ancient Egyptians. To name your dog Ramses II is odd and specific, but not the point here. The point is the object that the participants bring in with them. His new cellmate's name is Emojiti, and she brought a dog. Emojiti is from administration. She evaluated Gordon, and they now share level 33 together. This causes him to relax a bit. Being that she's from administration, perhaps she will enlighten us, as she knows more about Gordon, a fact that he was slow to pick up on. In a flashback, she asks him his favorite food to eat, and to our surprise, it is snails, the same food that Trimagasi compared him to. We also find out that he and Emojiti have this in common. They both volunteered to go into the pit. Emojiti informs that the pit is also known as the Vertical Self-Management Center. Vertical Self-Management Center. Let me say that again. Vertical Self-Management Center. Interpret that as you please. So, administration, they do know what's going on. So, what is the objective of this perpetual hell that's being carried out? Gordon asks, how many levels are there? She responds, 200. Keep that number in mind, 200. The two of them have another thing in common. They believe that the system can be changed. She, like Gordon before her, tries to appeal to the level above and below them. She makes a compelling argument. If everyone ate what they needed, the food would get to the lower levels. Also, the first 50 floors eat every day. So, she prepares 2 plates of food for the below level. She feeds her dog, and she will eat every other day. She pleads with the below level to eat what she has prepared for them, if they will prepare 2 plates for the level below them. This falls on deaf ears and hearts. Gordon informs her that her actions will result in the death of a kid. No kids under 18 are allowed in the pit. Interesting. A montage of her pleading mercifully, day after day, for them to ration of food and eat what their body needs, it's heartbreaking to watch. Her intentions are earnest, and she is responsible for putting the people in the system for the past 8 years. Everything is a matter of perspective. The people below them, they came from level 88. And again, people in the pit are allowed to behave as they see fit. Gordon, at this point, has learned to meet people where they are. He sternly warns them that he will shit in their food if they don't eat what she has prepared for them. This has gotten their attention. She asks why he did not also address the level above them. Gordon informs her that he cannot shit upwards. Miharu is on the platform. This time, she is badly hurt and needs attention. She's attended to so she can rest and heal. Screams awaken Goran as Miharu has killed Ramses II. Why? Because that's what she does. Goran figures it's because of her child. Imogiri states that she came in alone. She has no child. She wanted to be the Asian Marilyn Monroe. She had selfish ambitions. A month passes. At this point, I can only feel for Gordon as he is now on level 202. So, the 200 levels that Imogiri stated was misleading. Or was it? Did she really know how many levels there were? Was she only permitted a certain level of information? Gordon cannot get that answer as she has now hung herself. Was she disillusioned? Did she give up hope? She informed him on the previous level that she is diagnosed with cancer, so she had nothing to live for anymore. Perhaps she woke up before he did and saw what level they were on, and she knew that he needed to eat for a month. And at level 202, there would be nothing left. So she sacrificed herself. I believe she knew the actual number of levels. She wanted to give him enough strength and hope so he could be the act of spontaneous solidarity. Gordon looks down and sees another endless abyss once more. Reality started to settle in for him, and the ghosts of Tomagasi and Imogiri are now driving him insane. His object of choice, however, comes in handy, as he is now eating it for sustenance. He has no choice, as he cannot bring himself to cut and eat Imogiri. For him, that choice is not obvious. A month has passed. Our disheartened hero is now on level 6. This is the highest level he has been on, but the one causing him the most grief. His new cellmate, Virat, has a rope, his choice of object, and wants to escape. This is also the closest he has been near the top, but Virat's behavior is indicative of his experience in the pit. He is manic. Virat asks the above level if he can climb up. He was told by God that 2 compassionate people would help him out. Which God, they ask. The only God, he responds. They ignorantly remark his color, which is black, and sarcastically remark they'll be rewarding for helping a black man. He throws up the rope. As he climbs up, he is met with shit, literally, causing him to fall back down. This sends him spiraling. Bharat is on level 6 and is convincing himself that he is hopeless. He's so close to freedom that is being denied. The level above submissively derides his mission and asks God for another rope. There is 1 month left before Gordon's term ends. He has an epiphany. He appeals to Bharat to go down the pit and enforce the law of rationing food to lower levels. Since the first 50 levels eat every day, they will start to ration the food out on level 51, but they need to show a sign of force if necessary. If they can get food down to the last levels, it will prove a point to the administration and break the system. Gordon has done the math, and he believes there's 250 levels. So by his calculations, if new people are brought in every month, there are 500 people in the pit. Gordon and Bharat begin their descent, meeting resistance along the way. They're given a message to change their approach. Manners and education should be more effective. Convince the people instead of threatening the people. If they don't listen, then smack them. But use dialogue first. They're going to send a message to level 0, the cooking staff are stationed. But they need the symbol. The same dessert that had the hair on it. The panna cotta is the message. At the lower levels, the platform does not stop, indicating that the people are dead. However, they are met with resistance in the lower 200s, and a confrontation breaks out, and each one of them receives a deep cut after trying to help Miharu, who is now dead. Gordon believes that there are 250 levels, but as they pass this level and the further down they go, they see the depravity and the result of this system of self-governance. The camera does not shy away from showing countless dead bodies, some charred, chopped to pieces. Blood and body parts are everywhere. Our new heroes are slowly bleeding out, and as they descend, I feel hopeless, but not surprised. There seems to be no life left, but Barack still has the panna cotta in his possession. They reach level 333, and the platform stops. 333 is an interesting number. In theory, if 2 people are stationed on each level, then the pit can hold 666 people each month. 666 is widely referred to as the devil's number or the mark of the beast. The irony is not lost, as the pit is literally hell at this point. Nothing of hope has manifested in the pit, except on this level is where the kid is found, hiding under a bed, but it's a girl instead of a boy. They let the kid eat the panna cotta, and the platform descends once more. It's been established that any food hoarding once the platform leaves results in a punishment, but this time, nothing happens. Is the kid the key? She has to be. I believe that this is a test by the administration. The character of these volunteers are being tested and exposed by the meanest mechanisms of exploitation, and I believe it because of the quote the movie highlighted next from the book Don Quixote. A great man who's vicious will be a great example of vice, and a rich man who's not generous will be merely a miserly beggar. For the possessor of wealth is not made happy by possessing it, but by the spending it, and not by spending it as he pleases, but by knowing how to spend it well. The girl is a message. Barack has died. He's bled out. Goran must finish the mission alone. He joins the kid on the platform as it descends to the last level. The cinematography zooms out to reveal a long white light as they reach the end. Shomagasi appears and tells Gordon that his journey is over. Gordon tries to insist that he is her bearer, but the message needs no bearer, obviously. Gordon passed the test. The last scene is a kid ascending rapidly, assuming to level 0. What will happen? We only have our imagination to contend with, but as Gordon walks with Shomagasi, it is evident that he is dead at this point. He has joined spirits. What message was the platform trying to convey? Well, subjectively, in art, it's apparent. Each watcher will draw a different analysis from the film. It is a critique, in my opinion, on communism, socialism, greed, character, and humanity. To me, it's a scathing indictment on how we value and treat each other when faced with scarcity. Food, clothing, and shelter have been ingrained in each of us as necessities in order to survive. Take one of these away, and a forced sense of uniformity, and our sense of humanity will erode. Also, if a permission structure of self-governance is allowed, the arrogance and selfish nature in most of us will surface. We have to establish a moral code, a moral center, a compass that points towards justice and righteousness. And Gordon symbolized a person with that disposition. That's who he was. A decent guy, full of naivete, who paid the ultimate price, his life, but in service for good. Look at how nations hoard natural resources. If confined together in tight spaces, what will we do to each other? Unless rules and moral structures are implemented and enforced, we will literally eat each other to death. We cling to this world, accumulating materials and money. But what is the one item we would try to take with us? Shomagasi brought the Samurai Plus knife as his means of comfort. The only item that cost him his freedom. It came in handy a few times, even in his death. Imoguri brought in her dog. A dog is man's best friend, a comfort. And our pets don't judge us, probably why we value animals over people. Our pets love us unconditionally and are loyal. People are not. He felt guilty about sending people to the pit. And then, when diagnosed with cancer, she needed to redeem herself. All of these characters brought in one item, and they died leaving it behind. So it's not the item providing any comfort. Will the system change? Is the administration going to realize what is transpiring in the pit, the discovery of the kid being sent back up? Or perhaps they knew the kid was there all along. Perhaps it was a test. We are judged in society as a nation on how we treat the most vulnerable in our communities, and oftentimes these are women and children. We try to instill in children good morals, good character, and sound judgment, while trying to shield them away from depravity and moral decay. And the irony of such a place as the pit that allows unruly behavior unchecked, with no rules or structure in place to protect the vulnerable, that's exactly the kind of test I would expect from the administration. It's sadistic, yes, on so many levels, no pun intended, but it works, but only on a few. Who among them will rise and protect the future? Who will be the spark of spontaneous solidarity? Children are innocent and pure of heart. The last place they should be subjected to is the pit. So by saving them, we save ourselves and hopefully the future in the process. The kids are even pawns in this sadistic chess game. If adults can't change oppressive systems or solve problems, perhaps a generation not jaded or scarred by reality can. Perhaps that is the overall message. But it will take adults getting their act together. And if a system that you choose to enter is for reform, for reflection of a person's action, they will use whatever necessary for you to redeem yourself, even at the cost of your life. To escape hell, death is waiting on the other side, where you are fully free. There is no escaping the pit, obviously. What do Spotify, RadioPublic.com, and Pocket Cast all have in common? Me, the Conversation Piece podcast with Akila. So go ahead and hit that notification button. Go ahead. I'll wait. All right. Back to the show. Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of the Conversation Piece podcast. I am your humble host, Akila, requesting that you join me again. So, until then, be safe, love, and value yourself so that you can love and value others. I bid you adieu with the greeting, Assalamu alaikum, peace be with you.